Okay, back at it. We can do this. Woo! Oh, I thought something else we could talk about.
Oh, good morning.
Hello.
Welcome to your regularly scheduled Thursday.
Yes. Welcome to the Sun Dragon Sideshow.
The Dear Becky and Lizzie edition, but we have no questions, so
we get to do what we want. Yay! Feel like a Muppet. Yay!
we were left unattended.
Oh, we were left unattended with problems yesterday.
Oh my
So yes, hi. If you're a regular watcher, you may have noticed that okay, hang on. Ready? Sorry. The girls, hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in overcast, but at least it's not raining, Brevard, North Carolina.
I'm Liz. I'm the minion there.
Are you just trying to make that sound more miserable every day?
I
just don't even. Is it really such a chore? You know, actually right now it is. Never
It's
mind.
morning. I mean, yesterday threw our whole week off. Like,
I think that was
it's morning.
Yeah. It's morning. We had craziness in the shop yesterday. My eye is not happy with me. There's crap going down. I use the same song for my reel this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like I found this really great one that basically was like this catchy jingle version of like, I don't like adulting. And I used it yesterday before I knew what was happening at the shop. And so today I'm like, yeah, it's going to be my music again for the reel today. If you want to be entertained, you can go over to Instagram to my reels. I don't put them on my regular post feed for the most part because it doubles up, because I have my minute of meditation with like, it's almost like the AMSR version with like just the sounds of me knitting. And now I'm trying to also put music to them over on the reel side, but I don't double up on my post feed. Anyway, for people who follow Instagram, that made sense. Maybe. For people who don't, keep watching. We'll talk about something else.
So yesterday,
you see what happened was
I walk into work and I put my stuff down and I go put my Cokes in the fridge. And then I go open the register and I was like, wow, it's really raining it outside. I can hear it drip. Oh crap.
It's dripping inside.
I'm
picking music for my reel and I get a text that says,
it's raining in the shop.
Yeah, basically. I think you said something like there's a leak in the ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like, and I was just like, oh, expletives. This is family friendly. So we're trying not to say them, but we won't deny they exist. So,
because I didn't say crap, but it was like, okay, send pictures to Rebecca. There's a big puddle in front of the door. There's water because every little drop falling from 20 feet up
goes
everywhere.
Yeah.
And
physics in motion.
We got towels in the bucket put down, and then you're listening and you're looking all day long because
we found, my watch is telling me to breathe.
There were 4 of them by the end of the day.
It was like tandem because I'm trying to message my landlord things that Liz is telling me because I'm not at the shop yet. And by the time I got to the shop, it pretty much stopped raining in town, but we still had steady, constant drips coming from there's these beams, like this is mostly, like I don't know what to call them.
Well, you call them just a beam.
I wasn't done talking. Am I ever done talking? No, there's steel construction. There's girder beams kind of like in the middle of the shop holding up the structure on the outside that you can't see because they're behind the walls. But we have a few that stand right in the middle of the shop. And we have used some of them as points to build our displays instead of just having them standing in the middle of nowhere, and to cordon off the pit of despair over there where we keep storage. And it was dripping off. In fact, I can see the spot where it was mainly dripping. It's not dripping today. That's the good news. But all day yesterday, like it was coming in through the crack where the I-beams meet the but it's sheetrock.
Yeah.
It's like it's drywall, but it's and at first it was like, where's it coming from? And then we saw spots on the ceiling, and then there were 2 drips by the door. So people who came in, we didn't have many customers, which is both a blessing and a curse. Had to walk between these buckets. And we had 2 that by the end of the day had shown up over the pit of despair, by the pit of despair. The good news is, except for some old issues of pom-pom, we don't think anything got wet. That's when you sent me the picture, my first thought was all the books. But that was the only thing near the puddle. The splash, that's the good news. The bad news is we don't know how bad it is. It's basically there's decks of people from the Athelwald, from the which is an old hotel that's now shops and apartments and things behind us. Through that wall back there, their decks come out over our shop. And we don't know if maybe all the heavy snow that came damaged the roof, damaged their decks, and it's been accumulating in between. Like, we have all these theories.
Yeah. And no one will know until they go and
until they actually go dig on all that. And we don't know if they're going to have to replace parts of our ceiling because of that. So stay tuned. Hopefully we don't have to shut the shop down over that, but the spots that need to get fixed are kind of where people come in and out of the shop. So we're going to keep an eye on it. Obviously, if anything had gotten damaged, we would not be selling it to you. So just stay tuned. We'll figure out what's going on. But we're back at it. That meant we couldn't do a VSC yesterday. It was just like we could have, but there was enough keeping us busy with anxiety and getting buckets empty so we could use them just in case.
It was crazy.
It was crazy. And like, it's not like the whole day was crazy, but the whole day was on edge, shall we say. So Liz had the brilliant idea of let's just throw up something quick for all the people who are like, why haven't they posted yet? For all of the, I'm reminded of, okay, because I'm going down the Instagram reel rabbit hole. I'm reminded of there's a reel right now that's like, I don't want to brag, but my reels are watched, or my whatever is watched by well over 4 people worldwide. That's one that's like everyone's doing like their version of. And I'm like, yeah, for the 4 or 5 people who are like, why haven't they posted on a Wednesday? It might be more. And if you're one of the 4 or 5, we love you so much. We figured we put something up as a placeholder to let y'all know. Proof of life. We're going to continue the sale from last week. So Ito and the new Knitter's Pride stuff, go to our products of the week category in our online shop. Those are going to stay on sale for another week. We had plans. We will just bump them a week. So you'll find out next Wednesday about other stuff. So nothing that's on sale today. We are just going to talk about other fun stuff because this is not the VSC, but okay, hang on. This is the Dear Becky and Lizzie version of We Were Left Unattended at the Shop. When we have no questions, we just decide to talk about any old thing that either came up to our minds before we turned the camera on or as the camera was on. One thing I'm going to start with that isn't something we talked about. The Princess Bride Knit Along started on Tuesday. The first clue drop. There's already been like 1 correction to the clues. So I'm kind of glad I hadn't started yet. I was totally going to start yesterday. And then this happened. So I was halfway home, just like you were halfway in. And I went, I forgot to wind the yarn and bring it home. So I guess I'm not starting that tonight. But I'm pretty determined to use my fiber spates version, which I had like about 3 different combos I was going to use for it. I just love my fiber spates too much. So I think this is going to be it. And I think I'm going to pick a really dark version of Verdigris for the Fire Swamp. So most likely it's going to be A, B, C, and D. I feel like I looked at spoilers because,
because I like spoilers. And
like 1, 2,
she was
3,
like,
4.
ooh, look, spoilers.
I mean, I think whatever color becomes number 1 plays around. Like she said, make sure your 1 and 2 and your 3 and 4 have contrast. And I think I saw color 1 playing around with 2 other colors though. So this could also work really well, actually. Like if the burnished is
Mhm.
color 1, it could play with these 2 colors one at a time really well. I mean, it could play with this color too. So maybe tonight my brain will calm down and let me try it.
That would be nice.
Because I've looked at the instructions and it looks really fun, but not necessarily something I want to do during at night. Because I already made mistakes on this. Had to redo them.
Start a pocket on knit night.
Start a pocket on knit night, they said. It'll be easy, they said.
After you gauge swatched and realized that you were supposed to gauge swatch on
No,
pockets.
I could have.
Oh,
I
you
wasn't
could have.
supposed to, but I could have and cut down the amount of knitting I had to do. I've made 2 pockets for my Angels Envy sweater, but I started one on knit night. The one I started on knit night doesn't exist. It's been reknit again because I didn't do the edging right. I did not pay attention to or didn't read the instruction to make the edges garter. So knitting every row, I was knitting and purling. I was making them like a nice smooth edge, and she actually wants a rough edge because it'd be easier to sew on, like using the purl bumps and stuff to sew it on. And it said to do this pattern twice, which gives you 2 of these little circles. That's once, that's twice. And I was like, once and twice just with one, and I was already ready to move on the morning meditation this week, with the pocket being like another inch down. And I'm glad that I caught one error, because then when I went back and reread the pattern, I caught a second error. But now I have, one thing I got done last night is I have 2 matching pockets.
Yay.
Which will not go up here. They will go down there, but so like pockets for a cardigan, yay. And at this point, I have processed the pattern enough that I did these without looking at the pattern, which is both good and bad. Because again, if you know it well enough, you can do it without looking at the pattern. You might miss some instructions in the pattern. So it's always good to recheck with your pattern often. So that's what's going on in my life at the moment in terms of knitting I didn't do or did do. I've made progress on my no frill sweater. It's the pictures of my morning meditation this morning. I'm about 9 inches or 8 inches down. It depends on how you measure. I think I inaccurately measured 9. I think it's closer to 8. But that probably puts it, I'm probably at my elbow on one sleeve. I gotta keep going. I have a lot more to do on that, but I didn't bring it in. I'll try to remember to bring it in if I make some progress over the weekend on it. I'll bring it in for Tuesday. I keep going back and forth between, should I just stick to one project? Because I got my blush cameo done. Should I stick to one project and try to burn it out? Or should I rotate through my projects and make progress on all of them? My mind keeps flipping between those. And so you'll just have to all be surprised, but probably not surprised because you know me well enough at this point on Tuesday. So,
We got them in yesterday.
Oh my gosh, these have been hanging around Europe for like weeks. We got our barber cords back in. I'm so excited. They're not on sale, but all 14 colors are back in stock. And so like we got extras of the colors we ran out of first last time. I forgot how pretty this is. Look at the violet. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. I might show off random colors throughout the day today, but the barber cords, if you remember, if you didn't see the earlier episodes, these are fantastic, especially if you make sweaters, but not only limited to sweaters. They are these little silicone tubes that you can stick on the end of your needle and slide stitches. It's like, I forget who I was talking to. It was like, it might've been you. No, it was you. Saying this is the easiest it's ever been for me to get sleeves off or stitches onto a stitch holder.
Well, like
stick it on the needle and go whoop.
When I do 2 at a time sleeves to check and see how long it is, I could actually take the barber cord, do a U shape, stick it on both, and just slide the whole sleeve off onto it, and it's already oriented to put back on my 2 needles.
Wait, you put it on both ends, then it was on the needles and the barber cords?
No, I pulled the needles.
Oh, you did like a split?
Yeah.
in the sleeve to like, whoop. Okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
Mhm.
and then I could,
okay. So, go ahead.
I did tie a little knot where the center of
Yeah.
the two,
Oh, that's right, because you did the
because I have
Um,
two at a time, but
no,
it was
I had
very
this
easy.
vision of you capping both ends of the needle and sliding, and then it's stuck on everything. But that could actually work. But I'm hearing you say you split the other end of like you folded and foop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actually is fairly brilliant for, because what I've been doing is one end, like when I want to try something on, leaving half of it on the needles and sliding half of it onto the barber cords. But I could stick the barber cords on both ends. I still leave it on the needle, but slide enough off both sides of the needle onto the barber cords. It might go faster, might not. So there's a bunch of barber cord, middle of the barber cord hanging off, but it's still on
Look,
everything and get it back on.
I use, well, for just one sleeve, I could just slide one whole sleeve off
Mhm.
onto the 30-inch,
See, and that's what I've
and
been doing, but
then I
only on
could
one end.
put it back
Yeah.
on my two, because I'm doing two at a time.
Yeah.
So to have everything
Ah, yeah,
oriented
yeah.
right, you just slide, yeah.
Mhm. So, oh, this one wants to jump out of the package. There's the move. I don't have to just sit here and show all the colors, but they're pretty. So, so that's another cool thing, because we've been waiting and waiting. And black, they went from Finland to Denmark, and they sat there for a little while and had a party. And and then they hopped over to Germany, and they decided to make some new friends there. This is orange. I think I have one of the, I own an orange set. And each place they were just like, we want a vacation. And so it took most of the month of February for them to come in. Brown goes nicely with the sweater I'm making right now, if you want them to coordinate, but you don't have to. One set will do, but when you have as many sweaters on needles as we do, more is great. This one is green. Ta-da. I just love the fun colors. So I also have sold these to shawl knitters, people who they're like, I don't make sweaters. I said, well, but it is really easy to slide stitches off if you want to see how the knitting is coming, and spread the whole thing out and not get super long cords for your needles. And sold, and I went, okay, cool. There are other reasons to use them. We've got whites if you like neutral and you want to see it.
I have white and black.
I have orange. I want to say it's fuchsia and brown.
I might need to get the red, because
this is the one that marked blue on our website is darker blue. Yeah, you were waiting to get the red because and then we got bought out. So light green, more Slimer green. It's almost as green as, but yours is a little more yellow. What you're knitting, ours is a little more yellow.
My sweater is bright,
super bright. Yay! But you're putting in your red now. It's so exciting.
I am.
This is the fuchsia is really like a hot pink. There's also a pink though. Did I show that off yet? I'm gonna keep going and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Because I'm almost done here. For all I said, I wasn't gonna waste our time. Yellow is like a highlighter yellow, so it's a really neon yellow. It's almost a green yellow. Red, here's the one that Liz wants.
This is red.
It's like a nice orangey red. It's very nice. Yeah, it's red, So here's pink. Pink is almost like a corally pink. It's a much softer, it's not neon pink. That's the fuchsia. But it's warmer. It's not a full-blown coral, but it's a warmer, softer pink. And then it says blue on the back of this, but this is the lighter blue. We have like deep, not ultramarine, more like royal blue. But
it says light blue.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Oh,
her colors, she calls blue, and blue, and she calls light blue and blue, both blue.
Yes.
But we've marked them differently on the
website. It's a lighter shade of blue on the wording.
Yes, the wording is lighter or darker, but that doesn't help us when we're putting them on the website and we don't have colors for the name. We can't do that with the names. So it's the same thing with the green. They both say green. but in different shades of the color green, and we've gone with green and light green. So this one is more of the light blue. It's not quite a classic blue, and it's not super light blue, but it's much lighter than the regular blue, which is more of a royal blue. Yeah. So we have, I think that's all 14, because you said you put out all 14, right?
Yep.
That sounds like all 14. So we have 3 different pinkish shades, like the mauve is almost like a purpley pink. We have 2 different green shades. We have 2 different blue shades. And we have lots of neutrals. The violet, we have 1 purple. But we have at least 5 of what we ordered. We had some people already buy stuff, but we have at least 5 of each color, which means they shouldn't sell out quite as fast as last time. But if you have a color you didn't get last time, or a color you're jonesing for now, I would get it sooner rather than later, because we thought we could get them back in a week or 2, and it took about a month. So,
and next time could be a week or 2, or it could be a month.
We just don't know. It's very true. But I'm so excited. And half these colors, I forgot what they look like because we just sold out of them so fast. So they're in the online shop. They're here in the shop. Either way, you can get access to them. I would get them. I would snag them while you can. Other things I thought we would talk about today, because we are meandering through whatever we choose to. Was there anything that you particularly wanted to talk about today, Liz?
No.
Okay, so I'm in control. Ha. Okay.
We don't have any questions.
Yes.
And you mentioned color work, and
yes, we did. How about to get it out of the way? Because I need to photograph this today. We got new feeder brick in like a week or 2 ago, and it's been sitting in a bucket, and some people have bought it from the bucket, and it's up in the online shop, but maybe not the accurate color of what came in, because every time feeder brick comes in, this is some of the new stuff that came in. Every time it comes in, it's variations on a theme, and it may be really different. And I wanted to show people, like, there's one, I feel like that this is the one, this is like the most extreme. I feel like I'm gonna have to photograph them and say and list them as like 2021 jewel and a force and 2022 force, because they're so different. So like I'm gonna come over here and grab, this is the old, someone hung this up. I don't know why they hung it up. Maybe, okay, that's gonna, well, I'll hang on to this one too. This is not the old force. That's gonna go with that. Okay, so this is the force that we had from the last batch when everything was just getting really dark and vibrant. And this is the new force. Like, other than having like remotely tones of each other in there, like I wouldn't call these the same color. But every time she dyes them, because they are individually batched, like they're not even, you don't even have a dye lot on these. But they're all made. Lisa makes all of these up in Maryland from her sheep, that we call it our sheep to shop yarn, that she shears and spins and dyes and plies. And every time she dyes them, they come out just a little bit different. There's the same, I'm sure there's the same dye colors involved, but the saturation levels and where certain colors come out. She now has her own plying machines at her farm. It's really cool. But like, this is just lusciously dark colors, and this one is not quite pastels, but it's much lighter. Like we've had people build fades through colorways, and part of it, they've used 2 skeins of the same colorway, but they're so different, they provide a fade. It's really awesome. So this is one example. This is the one I'm probably going to have to label differently, because this is what's up on the online shop right now. And if you buy this and we send you this, you're going to complain. I understand, because what you're getting is not what's pictured. And that's one of the challenges of having an online shop on multiple fronts. It's getting the color remotely right. And then when the colors are so different skein to skein. And we've done it where we've put next to each other older and newer versions of it. And I say, specify if you want one, but we can't necessarily guarantee it. Someone said, I want one of the vibrant ones. We're out of them. But they've already purchased it. So what do? We have a conversation. We figure out what our options are. The luminous flux that came in this time is super bright, most of it. This is the new luminous flux. This is the old. It's not as noticeable, but as noticeable.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if I have enough pictures to label old and new, you know, that kind of stuff, but it's always a challenge. So this one also came out more vibrant. This is Isotope, and the old Isotope, these aren't quite so bad, actually. I think we sold some of the more neutral isotopes, but
it's just enough for us to notice.
Yeah, online pictures maybe not, but I can tell the difference. And it's much, the new batch has a lot more teal heavy. We have been out of Exponent for a while. I don't even think there's anything up there. No, we don't have Exponent. Exponent's one of her newer colorways, and it's got all these different shades of green, but not like, it's much cooler greens and mint greens almost. Her other colorway that has greens in it. So these are not the same colorway. Not to get confused. Potential Energy has all these foresty greens, kind of like what I'm wearing, but this was not knit out of Feederbrook. This is Fiber Spates. Get all the F's confused, I understand. Exponent there's a few shades that might overlap with this, but this is much more of cooler greens and mintier greens. So I find that really interesting. And if I was building a fade, I would probably throw Exponent and Oxidation near each other and then go into a warmer category potentially, because oxidation changes like batch to batch too. But we've been out of oxidation as well. Shout out to Kimberly. But we've been out of oxidation for a while. Sometimes oxidation will have more of the oranges in it, and sometimes it'll have more of the greens. It's like the oxidation of bronze is really what she's going for here. Oxidation, this batch is pretty pale, which if that's what you want, is awesome. But it changes every time it comes in. And then Specific Heat, this one's pretty close. It's got some stronger colors in it. You can grab an old one. These are some of the old ones of Specific, and this is the new. It's
kind
a little
of
warmer.
Cross between some of our old ones this lot, you know, like
right? We've had Specific Heat come in where it's super dark and vibrant, and this is kind of middle of the road. We had some other colors come in, but let me see. Oh, they're so pretty. And those, oh my gosh, I'm pulling things out that don't look like the same colorway, but they are in the same batch. We got some dark matters in, which just look luscious and purple. And I think actually this looks, oh, that's Nebula. It doesn't look the same. It's different colorway.
Different colors. Some of them are really close. Some of them are
dark matter new, dark matter old. So this one's more muted in terms of not as much color variation. But this one actually on the rack doesn't look like the other ones on the rack. So it might be an older version of it. I want to say, no, we weren't out. We had Symbiosis. I don't know why I ordered more, but I love this colorway. Symbiosis is just like, if you like pinks and purples, oh my gosh. But look at this guy compared to these two. Like these are banging, popping, and this one's popping, but not as much. So many fun colorways, and they knit up or crochet up with just these crazy color changes. It's so much fun. I want to say the Force ones that we have in the shop right now, though, look nothing like the one I'm knitting with. That's the craziest thing. And that came in last batch. I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm also going to try to save my cable needle here. Whew. So this was this Force? No, because we showed, I don't know. We're going to, I think this one is
Specific Heat.
No, it's not Specific Heat.
Thermal expansion.
No. Flashpoint.
Sorry, we're just gonna sit here and list them all off until we get the right one.
All of them. So this is the new Flashpoint, and this is the one I'm knitting with. The one I'm knitting with is much more vibrant than the batch that came in to replace what I was knitting up. They're still the same colors. You can tell it's still the same colors, but this fiery yellow, it may not be as noticeable in what we have in stock right now. So that's the issue with if I show this on morning meditation, which I still will, and I talk about what I'm making, and even the super old batch is what I'm knitting with at the very end here. Doesn't look like it's much stronger than the current batch of Flashpoint. So this works for our shop colorway, and it's really fun to just experiment with, but here's how some of it knits up. If you buy Flashpoint right now, it's not going to knit up the same. And some of that is just having to embrace whatever is going to happen.
And we can't be like, hey, we want it to look like an old dye.
We can't request that. We get what we get. Yeah, exactly. Like we've got tons of Flashpoint up here, and they're all super beautiful. And some of them might be, I'm seeing a little bit of that fiery yellow, but not in every single skein. So it's more, you kind of have to embrace with Feederbrook what is going to happen, and know that it may not be, there's some unpredictability to it. There's some relinquishing of control, which is hard. And if that's way too hard for you, know that going in and pick a different yarn. But if you like being surprised,
it's what happens with hand dyed or hand spun or anything that is not mass produced.
Sometimes even the mass produced, but yeah, mass produced, you get a little more consistency often. So it's tough though, definitely. Okay, the last thing I was hoping we could circle back to. We talked about color work either last week or the week before. Stranded color work. I can't remember. Okay. Oh yes, because we talked about sizing and sweaters and things like that last week. And one of the things we talked a lot about tension and about yarn floating behind and how to keep it from bunching up. And, there's a lot of stuff we talked about. I realized I don't think we addressed locking your floats all that much, because there's so many different opinions on that. And there's different things we do with that too. What triggered this for me a little bit is I came across someone was knitting, someone posted on Knit and Chat on Facebook and was saying, I usually lock my floats every other stitch, but I'm knitting with this light, super contrast, and I'm worried it's going to show. And my reaction was, oh my gosh, every other stitch, like A, that's a lot of work. And B, yeah, there's a chance it's going to show. And there's different ways of locking your floats. So I just wanted to generally address that for anyone who is either new to color work or playing around with their color work or wondering about that. Like, how often should you lock your floats? And my answer would be, should is a shame word. And so I don't think there's a hard and fast should on this, because I've also seen reels on Instagram where people are like they're like addressing the myth of locking your floats and they're like, I never do it, and their stuff looks gorgeous. And I think depending on who you talk to, you're going to get very different answers to this. So no, there is no hard and fast rule per se, or there is no should on it. But you're working on a colorwork project right now.
I'm working on a colorwork project
with super long floats.
They're 5 stitches across at the most.
No, but I mean, so you're only going 5 stitches before you use another color.
Oh,
that's what I mean.
No, there are
stitches like one stitch. A lot of especially traditional Fair Isle, while she's getting at her chart, a lot of traditional Fair Isle is actually structured so your floats are not that long. So your floats are only like maybe 5 stitches, like red stitch, 5 stitches of blue, red stitch. That's what we're talking about here for float. The red has to float behind the 5 stitches of blue.
On my first row.
Yes.
The first, my chart is 44 stitches across. Don't ask. It was a mess.
This is a self-designed
chart.
And yes, disclaimer that more modern stranded color work tends to, like, when you make crazy, fancy, fun designs, this is what happens.
Yeah.
So what is this?
This is my chart. Pattern starts here. color work doesn't show up till here. There's 29 stitches I have to get across before I put my first 2 stitches in. And
which means, I mean, the first time you put it in, you're not going to put it in until you hit that spot.
Yeah.
Potentially.
But then then
there's 29 stitches again.
29
right?
stitches plus whatever's over here before I get to the next 2 that have to go in. So
that's a really long space. Like, so what some people would do with this is turn it into intarsia and have just a little thing of yarn that is only right in that spot. And what other people, because it's going to spread out for you and you're going to have less space between them. And, you know, everyone picks like their level of awkward.
Yeah.
And you're going with the, I'm carrying my yarn.
I'm carrying my yarn all the way around. And because I haven't done intarsia. So like, I don't know. I'm having fun with the strandy color work.
She's digging it. It's all
I'm
good.
learning a new skill because.
Yes, because like, and oh, did you make the marks just like the
red one? The red ones are where I'm making my.
What are the green ones?
They were trial and error.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
In marker.
Yeah, because you know.
Okay. No, so let's back up for a second. She's using a new technique, which I want to hang on to for 1 second. In general, my rule of thumb, which is not a hard and fast must follow rule, is I try not to let my floats get much longer than 5 stitches. Like you can break it down. So if it was 7 to 8 stitches, I might lock it on the 4th or the 5th or do something in the middle, like after 3. But if there's only 4 stitches, I'm not locking it on the 3rd. I'm just letting it float across those 4. So, and there's different, what we're coming up to for Liz is there's different ways to lock them down. When it's not as long as the space that she's doing with as much of a contrast as she's doing, I often, you'll see them in my morning meditations. I've made videos on how, if you're holding in 2 hands, how to lock down your floats without twisting the yarn. The most basic traditional form is twist the 2 yarns gently behind the back. But then you have yarn, you have to untwist your balls at some point. There's ways to do it. There's a few ways to do it so your yarns don't get tangled when you lock.
On my thistle sweaters, there's a couple of spaces that I will twist them because I just like the look of that better. And there are several areas, well, more than several, that I do your locking method.
I think I learned it from Amanda. Or Amanda introduced me to it. Not that I do it the same way that Amanda does, our friend Amanda, because she showed it to me once or twice. And I don't know if I do it her way or if I've made up my own way. But I find the yarn that's in my left hand, which I usually is my contrast, like it's much easier if that's making long floats to lock it in doing this vip method, which is more technical than that, but I'll call it that, than to try to lock the one that's in my right hand. It looks a little cleaner. But when it's going over a long gap like hers, there's other ways. I've only recently been introduced to them, and it's so fun that you're trying them out too.
I am. And I am doing them. What's it called? It's the jacquard ladder back, but your
ladder back jacquard. You'll find it. Yeah.
Your sweater had a specific video.
We'll talk about it in a second.
That I went, Rebecca sent me the video because I don't know what to do.
The pattern writer for this, because someone said, "Ooh, you should make a video on that," and I'm like, At this point, the woman who wrote this pattern has a really good video on YouTube. I could do one too, but at this point, I'm going to let her video be the tutorial for most people because I want her to get some hits, and I don't have the energy and time to make a video on this yet. I have a list going, so in the meantime, especially. For this video, like I'll show you because mine have gone further than Liz's. Anytime you see this, because there's these big, I'm probably nowhere near the microphone. There are these big chunks where I've got about 12 stitches I'm going across of a solid color, but take a look, like on the back, I have this extra stitch that's actually hidden on the front. Like you can't see the white through the cream color through there. It's really, really cool. And it helps keep your tension and all this stuff, but it takes a little bit to get to know. And like, if I can do this, Liz,
you can.
Like a lot of the things in here, it'll look like an extra stitch on your needle, but it's like, let's find a spot where it's actually the stitches. Is that like right here?
The actual you can see them, like, so that and that are
Okay.
actual stitches and the other ones are not.
So all of these in here, they look like stitches hanging out on the needle, but they will disappear when she is done with this section, when she doesn't need to lock them in. And honestly, for your biohazard signs, like mine's very angular, and there's a spot where they all disappear because it all shifts. Yours may, you may be moving them out at different periods in time as your biohazard sign grows and shrinks to add them back in. But it's a really cool technique that I did not know about until a couple months ago. And I think it's existed for quite some time. The ladder back jacquard.
I am actually, I'm intrigued because normally when I do color work with both hands.
Oh, I have to do this with holding the yarn in one hand because the yarn is moving back and forth so much. Yeah,
and
both strands.
So I watched the video,
and her video is done for continental, which is how she holds it. I do it English style, so mine's different than the video. But anyway,
so she brings everything forward, and then you pick up and you purl through the. But
you do have to purl through the back loop on all this to pull it behind.
I have fortunately have learned to proper continental purl because I do a Norwegian
locking your.
You have to bring the yarn to the front and then it's a wrap. And for a long time I couldn't figure out which way you wrap because I like my Norwegian and my yarn stays in the back and life is fine.
I could show you.
Oh well, I figured it out when I was doing brioche because when you flip it, you have to do a continental purl the first time because your yarn is in the front and
okay, no, but
it's I like it because my colors are so different. I have gray and neon green, a yellowy like highlighter tape neon, and I have red, dark. And if I just locked my floats, sometimes they peak and you can
either twisting them or doing the locking mechanism where you never have to twist your yarns. It's sitting right behind that. It's sitting between stitches. So there's a chance it will peek through. And the ladder back jacquard, like when you're done with it, like while you're doing it, you see it sitting on the needle and it's moved. But once you get rid of it at the end using her instructions, it really does disappear. Like
it floats on the back of your work. Like there's a whole space that floats on the back of your work.
It's really cool that, but it floats in a lockdown way. Like if I stick my finger in here, if I stick my finger back here, I can move it throughout this whole entire section of 12 stitches when things go right. I actually feel one little weirdness in here, which no, it's just sticky. It's just the yarn sticking to itself. But that twistedness across these floats helps keep it the tension from bunching.
Yeah,
it's really cool. So and look how clean these colors look. I mean, that's just awesome.
Yeah, and for you too, like if you were locking floats,
makes me want to go home and work on it.
You tried locking floats
my normal way in my swatch.
There is such a high contrast
I could see
your yarn.
It looked like poop. I mean, it would have been fine, but to me, it looked kind of poopy.
It's nice to find new techniques that hide that.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily use the ladder back jacquard all the time, especially when I'm only locking once in the middle of, say, 7 stitches. She does that when there's, because it's a big block and it's not something that jiggles and joggles back and forth like some of the more classically patterned Fair Isle. If my classic pattern Fair Isle had like a float like 7 stitches, but it was shifting where the 7 stitches were every time, I probably wouldn't use this technique. I wouldn't use it all the time. You can, but
it's great like when you're doing blocks that you need to. And most of the videos I saw yesterday were when you have long sections down that have long floats across them. Like it just
like rectangles.
Yeah.
Anyway,
rectangles or like mine, I have huge blocks that have no color work in them.
So I honestly like, there's part of me that wants to make a different Alaska hat or the Mountain View cowl where because they have really, really long floats. Like that's a thought about doing that instead of the jig jog locking of floats. Because one of the things with regular locking of floats is, especially the twisting ones, is you don't want to do them in the same place on 2 different rows, or else you will see it. It will peek through. It will cause it to bleed through a lot more. So often, even when I'm doing the hidden ones over a stitch, I'll try to jig jog those. I'll like, if there's a 2 or 3 rows because they're going away from each other, like in the mountain view hat, like in the mountain mist hats, I'll do it on the 3rd stitch on one time and then on the 4th stitch the next time, so they don't overlap. The ladder back jacquard, you actually have to and want to have them overlap because they're going to get pulled behind and hidden anyway.
Yeah.
That's the whole moving
It's
the
just-
yarns front and back.
It's like a stabilizing straight up and down bars.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, it makes me want to reknit things, but I think in the future, when I have really, really long floats, I may, for a large chunk of time, like the top of the trees in the Alaska hat, they're really far apart. Sometime in the future, if I do something like that again, I will use that technique. Absolutely. So-
It's a nice technique to
Mhm.
have under your belt. Like,
And look, we have successfully filled, like, I forget when we started filming, but probably a good 40 minutes or
Yeah.
so. So we have to go open the shop now.
Yeah.
And what's really great is I was expecting we'd have to film and you'd be hearing the drips in the background. And for right now, nothing is dripping. Please pray with us that it continues to not drip. And we
my
don't have
ears
crazy.
are still on high alert.
I know. I'm like, what was that? What was that? What was that? And keep us in your thoughts that we don't have a whole lot of molds in sailing right now. So, love y'all. Thank you for watching. Subscription levels, like we are nearing where we only need about 70 more people to get to our next sale. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, which does not cost any money, I got my yawns out of the way while we were filming.
Sorry.
In the middle. So while it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, if you have not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to the channel, because when we hit 800, we'll have another sale that's a little bigger than the last one we had at 700. And and buy yarn from us is always a way you can support us. If you hit the subscription, the bell, you get alerts when we post. Like you would have gotten an alert for our little 1-minute video yesterday. And Patreon, right? Patreon is a way you can monetarily support us and the work that we do here, bringing entertainment to you all. If you're like, I don't need yarn forever because I have a stash acquired beyond life expectancy or Sable. Patreon.com/sundragon. You can do anywhere from $3 to, I think our highest one right now is like $50 a month. There's different perks for every level, but no matter what, you get your name at the end of our videos in the credits, and we thank you in advance. And another way, you can come meet us on Zoom. We have virtual sit and stitch tomorrow night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's not tonight, it's tomorrow night.
I was like, wait.
Fridays always feel like Saturdays to us, but tomorrow is Friday. 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also do this on Tuesdays. You get into Zoom with our shop phone number.
828-877-3550.
You get so good at that, right? Anyway, so our next Sunday afternoon sit and stitch from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is not until March 20th. So rest up for that, because we will be too. Anything else?
No.
We both need
Caffeine
naps.
naps.
Yeah, I need to stop saying it's just so hard. So we will try not to say We'll see you on Tuesday, if not before. Everyone have a lovely day and think dry thoughts.
Dry thoughts.